This is BYU Sports Nation, brought to you by the BYU Store, simulcast on BYU TV and BYU Radio. Now from Studio B, your hosts, Jerem Jordan and Jason Shepard.
BYU Sports Nation is live, your day-to-day play-by-play in Studio B, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. It is Friday, April 22nd. Day of convocation. Thanks for being here. I'm Jerem Jordan, teamed up with the guy who always knew Dennis could do it, Jason Shepard.
Look, you guys have your history. It's well documented.
Yes, back from his playing days.
I have always been a backer, not a linebacker, but a backer of one Dennis Pitta. Mm-hmm. I have always been in his corner, and I am very happy for him. We found out yesterday that Dennis, unbeknownst to us, finishing up his degree and graduated yesterday. Look at that.
Yeah, I tweeted this. Nobody said he could do it. Shout out to the haters. Against all odds, he did it. Dennis Pitta graduated today. Congrats to Dennis. To which Cosmo D. Cougar tweeted, would have read this tweet, but I ran out of time. Well played.
Well,
so congrats to Dennis.
Yes, congrats to Dennis.
And I think, full disclosure on the Dennis thing. We have run out of time for him consistently because he was in class. We wanted to give him the chance to focus on the academia.
So, see, finally, people understand there was a method to the madness.
Yes. I don't hate Dennis.
Okay, well, you know what? Dennis is sort of an olive branch, if you will.
Okay.
Has decided to, he would like you to have this. This is a signed picture from Dennis Pitta.
Of him catching
the touchdown
in the Super Bowl.
This is
when the lights were on.
The lights were on at this point. Yeah. So I would like to hand that to you.
That's awesome.
Also,
I'll probably throw this away.
Dennis has sent us a message, and we would like to run that for all of BYU Sports Nation now.
Hey guys, yes, the rumors are true. I have finally graduated BYU. I am a proud alumni after nearly 19 years since I entered BYU in 2003. Now, it's been a long, arduous battle, at times extremely lonely, getting to this point. Not many people in my life, virtually no one, believed I would be here, believed I would do it, even believed I could do it, except for one man. That man is Jerem Jordan. He had the courage to get in my face and say, I was good enough, I was smart enough, and I could do it. So today, I thank you, Jerem, for believing in me, for being the only one in my life who thought I could do it, who thought I could graduate. And although we will remain mortal enemies, for today, I thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
That was a moment. Like, there are moments.
That was a moment in BYU Sports Nation.
There are times in your life that you will always look back on and say, you know what, things were different after that. This is one of those moments.
Well, probably for like an hour.
Well, again, like he said, for today.
Yeah.
Today, the olive branch, the picture.
Yeah.
He may take that back tomorrow for all I know. I don't know.
I'll probably throw it away. But, like, I saw it. That's good. It's like a card on your birthday. You're just like, hey, thanks, bye.
Oh,
but
where's the check? No.
Was there cash in here? No, but congratulations to Dennis. That's pretty cool.
That's honestly fantastic.
It's something that's extremely difficult to do, which thousands of BYU students do every year, which is graduate from BYU. So congratulations to Dennis. That's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
On a serious note, I am surprised by the reaction to this. You know, the tweet I sent out about him graduating has like 80,000 impressions. People are very excited for Dennis graduating. That's awesome.
They should be. This is really cool. And again, this was, it's not something that he, was publicly talking about. So when we saw that he was on the list, we're like, that's actually pretty cool. We didn't know that he was doing that.
I kept telling him, hey, you got to do this before Jim McMahon did. Like, hurry up. You're getting old.
Nice.
You gotta go. Okay, thanks to Dennis for that video. That's pretty awesome. We probably won't keep that in the archive, but it's okay. Here's the show lineup. Tyler Algier joins the show a week out from the NFL draft. Who's showing interest? Where's the best fit for him? We're excited to talk to Tyler Algier. The highest-ranked recruit in BYU basketball history, the signee, Collin Chandler's in studio to talk about his mission call to Africa, playing for the USA basketball practice squad, and much more. And a men's hoops player exits the transfer portal, returns to BYU. What it means for the program right now. So let's stir up some Friday headlines, shall we?
Jeremy, you just mentioned it. Gideon George announced on his social media that he has taken his name out of the transfer portal and will return to BYU basketball next season, saying, quote, finishing what we started, end quote. Gideon averaged 8.8 points and 5 rebounds last year. Now, if you'll remember, Gideon declared for the NBA draft earlier this month. He will have until June 1st to work out with NBA teams and still be able to maintain his eligibility to come back.
More coming up on Gideon in the program. Baseball beats San Diego 11-7 in Game 1 of the series on a home season high 14 hits. Nice response by the Cougars against the second-place Toreros. Game 2 tonight, 8 Eastern on BYU TV.
Track and field shines on day 2 of the Robinson Invitational. BYU's Dallin Vorkink set a personal best in the decathlon event with a score of 76.04, putting him at number 9 all-time in program history. The team will compete in 13 different events today, starting at 1 Eastern.
Women's golf is in second place at the West Coast Conference Championships in Henderson, Nevada, led by Anik Hutchkevich and Alicia May Mateo, who right now are individually tied for second place.
Men's golf will host the 57th annual Ping Cougar Classic today and tomorrow at Riverside Country Club. Cougars looking for their 39th win at the event since it began back in 1963.
Nice. Softball starts a 3-game series at San Diego beginning at 8:30 Eastern Time. The Cougars are chasing LMU in the West Coast Conference standings.
Men's and women's tennis are in action this weekend. The men are in California for their final 2 matches against Pacific and St. Mary's, while the women will host Pacific and St. Mary's in Provo. Obviously, due to inclement weather, those matches will be played indoors.
Paisley Harding is scheduled to suit up for the Seattle Storm in a preseason WNBA game against the LA Sparks tomorrow at 9 Eastern. Fun conversation yesterday with Paisley.
And it's Coug versus Coug this weekend in the NWSL as Michaela Colohan-Clough and Cameron Tucker face each other tomorrow when the Orlando Pride play Gotham FC in the Big Apple.
I am vengeance. And third-ranked men's lacrosse hosts the Rocky Mountain Lacrosse Conference Championships this weekend. Good luck to the men. All rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending.
You're talking about it, and so are we. It's What's Trending on BYU Sports Nation.
Okay, Gideon George announces via Instagram that he's coming back with the caption, finishing what we started, which sounds something like Kylo Ren said in The Force Awakens. So, Jason, how does Gideon George returning change the narrative for BYU basketball?
Look, ultimately, I'm not sure that it does, because I think even with all of the activity and the news surrounding the program over the last little while, it was still about, look, it's a work in progress. Wait to see what happens and what the team looks like in a couple of weeks. It was always a look, you've got guys that are putting their name in the transfer portal, so that there are guys moving out. There are obviously guys that are going to be coming in. Right now, we don't know who some of those guys are. So it was always a wait and see type situation for big picture. So in that frame of mind, I don't know if it changes much. It's certainly a good thing to be able to have a guy that's been in the system, that's been in this program, to be able to come back. As we mentioned, we gave his stats, a little under 9 points per game, 5 rebounds. And this is a guy that you hear the term 3-and-D all the time. That's what Gideon is, and certainly has aspirations to play at the next level. That's certainly something that he could hang his hat on, is being a 3-and-D guy. So having him come back to the program is good, because he's somebody that you're familiar with, and it also gives him an opportunity to continue to hone his skills, and probably will have a much higher workload, which I'm sure he's all about. So overall, it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helps because, the narrative the last week or two has been tough with people leaving. And you at some point you wonder, hey, what's going on, right? And a lot of people are wondering about that. This is some positive news for BYU basketball that Gideon George is coming back. Like you said, it's not like he was averaging 20 a game or anything, but he's a guy that could average kind of 12 to 15 a game if he kind of takes a step up this next year. He, at the end of the season was playing really good ball,
right,
especially in one of the NIT games where he was just going off in the first half, right? It was awesome, I think, against Northern Iowa specifically. Gideon's length is awesome. His ability to make threes was really good at the end of the season. Defensively, he's one of the more unique players on the team, typically guarding one of the best players on the opposing team, the better wing. Gideon is a nice addition to this team. He's one of 4 guys that certainly are capable and would be starters. Granted, he has been one of the most consistent starters on the wing for BYU. So that's good news because you lose 4 or 5 starters, you go, oh, gosh, it's Foose and nobody else coming back from the start. Well, now it's Gideon George and Foose, which is great. Obviously, we love Gideon's personality as well. All the shoes that he's donated, the kind of person that he is, it adds to the character of this team. So hopefully Gideon is one of several pieces returning that are familiar but also new that come in and contribute to a team that is competitive. What that means, I don't know, because I've said I would rather BYU be good, and if they don't make the tourney, that's okay. But if they're prepared for the Big 12, I would rather have that than any kind of temporary success next year, because I don't want BYU to go into the Big 12 unprepared and just get blown out of the water. What I would like BYU to do is be ready to be about 500 in league, good in non-con, and an at-large type of team, because it'll be this is a crazy thing I'm about to say. It's actually going to be easier to make the tourney in the Big 12 than it was in the WCC. WCC, you don't have a lot of room for error. You got to win some big non-conference games, but in league, there's not a ton of games that come to you that you got to win. BYU's going to have too many good games in the WCC. It's how many can they win? Can they go 500? I'm telling you, the standard changes. Gideon helps with this, of at least the transition to next year. He's not a Big 12 guy because he's got the one extra year, the COVID year. Gideon George doesn't have a chance for this 5th year, by the way, without COVID. But, he contributes. Does it change the entire narrative of what's going on? Not necessarily, because to me, Caleb Lohner was a huge loss. Chris Burgess is probably the biggest loss when you talk impact on the program. But it certainly helps to have him back. And when he says, finish what we started, what I think he means is, let's go to the tourney and let's win a game. Because they went 2 years ago, didn't win the game. And this team is hoping that they can get good enough pieces to be able to go back to the NCAA tournament.
Well, and like you said, Gideon is not going to be one of the BYU players that plays in the Big 12. So what he can help do this year is help be part of that team that is in preparation for. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going out trying to win. Certainly that's what you're trying to do.
They want to make the tournament.
Absolutely, 100%. Sure. So he can be part of this team that sort of sets the tone for this year and moving forward. So it's nice to have him back. But BYU's needs still haven't changed. You still need a point guard, and you still need a 5. And so obviously Gideon is neither a 1 or a 5. So that from that part of it, the narrative doesn't change because you still need to go out and find those players. But there's no downside whatsoever to having Gideon George come back and be a part of this team next year. None whatsoever.
More Gideon George scoring on Justin Bean highlights, please. Our question of the day, how does Gideon George returning change the narrative for BYU basketball? Let's hear from you and Voice of the Nation.
This is the Voice of the Nation on BYU Sports Nation.
At TX Colonel on Twitter, excitement upgrade, worry partially mitigated, solidify the core to build around, more shoes.
Yeah.
More shoes is right. At Lawless Republic, it provides depth and support for the young players. Instead of having the weight of the team on their shoulders, these players can lean a bit on George. And yeah, he's one of several seniors on this team. I'm hoping BYU doesn't go and just grab a bunch of grad transfers. Because, again, that's not prepping for the Big 12. And I don't think they will. I wouldn't mind a grad transfer.
Sure.
A Tijon Lucas, a Matt Harms, a Brandon Averett type that are starter impact totally. But hopefully there's a couple of guys that are going to be here into the Big 12 where you can build off that. And certainly it isn't like BYU won't be ready for the Big 12 if they don't do it now. Obviously they have years to do this, and even next year. But let's go, man. The Big 12 is around the corner, and that's going to be a fun time. Continue to weigh in on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Coming up, could Zach Wilson be moving west?
Like west in the Salt Lake County in the office? No? And Tyler Algier joins us to chat about where he thinks he'll be drafted next week. This is BYU Sports Nation.
On the basic level, we offer transportation. We carry 4 wheels, tailgates, and a place to rest your rump. Beyond that, we provide adventures, opportunities, and jobs well done. So perhaps our favorite offering is our full line of trucks, including the new Nissan Titan. Right off I-15, Tim Daly Nissan Southtown and the popular full-size Nissan Titan. Think Nissan. Think Tim Daly.
There's nothing quite like doing a live sketch.
Having the audience like nearby is really, really neat to just be able to connect with them and hopefully make their day better.
When you are doing a sketch and you hear your first laugh, it's just like, here we go, let's go for it.
I mean, one of the most rewarding things is having people saying like, I struggle with this or this, and you guys are able to make me laugh at it and realize like I'm not the only person going through those things.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
There's my guy Cy right there. Baseball looks to make it 2 in a row over San Diego tonight at Miller Park. Watch the game at 8 Eastern on BYU TV in the app, obviously, weather permitting.
Cy was born, and they were like, what sport should you play? I think it should be tennis. No, Cy, you got to be a pitcher, too. Like,
Absolutely.
come on, man. We're live in Studio B with your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. He is Jason Shepard. I am Jeremy Jordan. Earlier this week, Spencer and I had Tyler Algier in studio a week out from the NFL draft. Lot to discuss with him. Here's our conversation.
Tyler, wonderful to have you with us in Studio B. As you approach the NFL draft, I mean, we're talking about your life changing in essentially a week's worth of time. What are your emotions like as you approach NFL draft week and the days that lead up to that?
Yeah, I'll say more anxious than anything. More anxious, you know, trying to see what team ends up picking me up and just doing what I do there.
Okay, walk us through what you've been going through the last couple months as you've gotten ready. So season ends, and then you start training for the combine, right?
Yeah.
Where'd you go? What'd you do?
Yeah, so I was training at Proactive up in Thousand Oaks, California. Trained there until combine, and then trained there a little bit until pro day. And then after pro day, just been training here with our strength staff, just getting us right.
The trip to Indianapolis certainly was a big one and cool to be invited. How was that experience?
Yeah, it was a grateful experience, you know, grateful and thankful, you know, just being invited and just do my thing there. You know, it was crazy. It was crazy, a lot of pressure, a lot of sleepless nights and all that, but just it was more pressure to see what you do under the lights with everybody watching. But, you know, I thought they're pretty well there. So,
walk me through the moment before you run your 40 there. What's going through your mind when you know that the bright lights are on? But it's like, it just feels super quiet in there. Like, what's that like?
Yeah, honestly, it was like everything's quiet. Like everyone's like, shh, like just like, so everyone's waiting for you to run 40. And then like you look up in the screen and they don't even show your time. So like everyone's looking up, seeing if it'll show you time, but you have no clue. You have no clue. So that's why you have to go to your phone and then see like what you're actually doing. But they did a James Conner similarity when they saw, and then it said like 4.6 some. Then I was like, oh shoot. So that's I kind of knew because they did the comparison, but no one else really kind of knows, I guess.
Were you okay with the James Conner comparison? And how'd you feel about 4.6?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, James Conner. That's a pretty good. Yeah, no, exactly. I respect his game. And 4.6. It was a 4.6 flat official. So I was good about it, especially with the weight that I was at. But, I felt fine about it. Debating on whether or not to run it at the pro day, but it was more of a business decision.
Sure.
What went into that business decision?
Just being fine with the 4.6 flat, I would say.
And you've been recorded faster, but you talked about at this weight. So what goes into that decision of like, well, you're a bigger back, right?
Yeah.
If you shed 20 pounds, hey, maybe you shed some time off that, right?
Yeah, no, exactly.
But you're a bigger back.
Yeah, just a few extra added pounds, I guess. Shoot, who knows?
Tyler Algier is with us on BYU Sports Nation. It's muscle weight, right? Come on now.
I like to think so. Shoot,
it's muscle weight.
Like this.
What did you learn from not just the combine and pro day in terms of feedback? Like, what did experts, scouts, your agent tell you to focus on as you lead up to the draft after you heard the feedback from the pro day and from the combine?
Yeah, I think mostly it was just routes. Just route catching and all that, doing that in pro day, and then especially the combine, caught everything combine, and then it dropped that one pass on pro day. But I was already doing a lot. Then they were just like, yeah, you've shown enough, like you're good. So hopefully that put a lot of film showing that I can do. Like I can be a 3-down back, I can pass protect. Obviously I can run the ball and then possibly be a threat in the pass game.
How nervous are you in those situations? Because yes, you have all the film, and that's what matters most. But also, you want to prove yourself in person to these people. Yeah,
me being grateful, I was able to kind of feel all that pressure during the combine. So, like, pro day, it was, like, pretty – I wouldn't say it was easy, but, like, I got used to it because there was way more pressure at the combine. But, obviously, all these scouts there was, like, almost, like, 29 out of, like, 32 teams, something like that, up at pro day. So, like, you still had to perform and, like, just feeling that pressure, I was able to – do pretty well.
Clearly, a lot of NFL teams are interested in you and your skill set, and we hear a lot about the running back that had the most yards after contact since 2021 or whatever. I mean, you are a physical back, but which teams are showing the most interest in picking up a physical back like Tyler Algier?
Honestly, I couldn't even really tell you. I've been talking to a lot of teams. Shoot.
Fantastic. The more the merrier.
No, I know. Shoot. Yeah, it's been crazy. No, it's been a great experience, talking to a lot of teams, just making to a lot of the relationships, especially with the running back coaches and stuff. Just kind of like just putting my name out there. Like I made a couple connections. Like it was like even if we don't even draft you, like I'd love to, or like just like keep my number down, whatever questions you have. Like I think just those connections will go pretty vital into my future. Depending on,
I'm feeling excitement for you right now.
No,
I'm feeling that right now.
And we've seen what you've talked about play out before, where teams will evaluate you, really like you, and maybe they're not the one that picks you, but later down the road they'll be like, we really like this guy in the draft. We want to bring him to our team on that maybe second deal or whatever.
That was a Kyle Van Noy situation.
Right? Yes. I want to say that that happened with Taysom Hill at the Saints, perhaps.
There you go.
So, yeah, this is a very impressionable time, right?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Has it been fun? Has this been a fun situation, or is it stressful? Some combination, maybe?
No, I'll say a little combination of it, but no, it's more fun, like just enjoying the moment, literally, because this is probably the most funnest time you can ever have, especially just going through this whole process, feeling all this anxiety, feeling all of this pressure, and then end up actually performing well. And just now it's just finishing interviews, and only time will tell until where everyone or even me will go.
A few months ago, I was staring at a picture of you and some family as you signed your preferred walk-on sheet to come to BYU. Very low-key. And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on in Tyler Algier's mind in that moment compared to where you are now? So what did you tell yourself when you came to BYU as a largely under-the-radar guy, and now here you are? What was happening in those initial moments of you pursuing your career and the dream that was in your mind at that time?
Honestly, humble beginnings. Shoot, my mom looked at me when we signed the thing. It was like, you sure you want to do this? Like, if you want to do it, we can fork out the money. We can do all of that. Like, as long as you give 110%, then, like, we'll do it. We'll do it. And I just said, yeah. And then that's when I knew I'll just put my head down and get to work. A lot of trials and tribulations came into that, but just making the most out of every opportunity that I had just got me to where I am now.
What would you say to walk on Tyler Algier in that moment? Like, you now in your position, if you could give yourself advice 5 years ago, what would you say?
Just keep trusting the process, I think. Yeah, just keep trusting the process and let everything falls into place for a reason.
At what point did you feel like, hey, I could actually make it to the NFL? Was it sometime in the 2020 season?
Honestly, I couldn't even tell you. I think, yeah, probably 2020 season. Once I got like solidified as the running back, earned my scholarship and all that, kind of like rose in from bottom to kind of like just made a name, or like just finally got the opportunity. I would say, like, okay, now I can actually focus instead of just working my way up until now, I guess.
And then 2021 really validated what you did in 2020, because 2020 was awesome, and then 21 it was like, all right, let's see it against 7 Power 5s.
No,
and you delivered, man. It was awesome.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Tyler Algiera's on BYU Sports Nation. I can think of a pinpointed moment in 2020 when I thought, yeah, he could be an NFL back. When you were running away from everybody at Boise State and there wasn't like another player within the television screen, it was pretty clear that some things were developing for you. What's the best advice you've received from Harvey Unga and some of the other teammates that have made the jump to the NFL and have been through what you're going through right now?
Yeah, you know, they're all proud of me. They're all proud of me, proud of what I've became, what I've become and all that. You know, especially coming from like preferred walk on to coming up and just taking a starting job and all that. But it was more just trust the process, like keep trusting the process. You know, like this is like the foundation. Like we gave you the foundation. Now it's just perform to that next level, getting the playbook down. Like the faster you learn the playbook, the faster you're on the field, and that's exactly how it was in college, obviously. So
in terms of fit, and that's always the conversation with like, okay, for you to succeed at the next level, it's got to be a great fit where they value what your skill set is. Is there a certain type of offense where you think you would fit best?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. Yeah, no clue actually.
Yeah.
Feels like BYU runs a similar offense to the Niners.
Oh, like the wide
yeah,
zone
and like
and
the
all that.
Jets
Okay.
like do that, right?
Okay.
Like is there a certain, setup or zone reads or whatever? Like
Yeah. I would say like some wide zone, mid zone, but I can personally excel in any offensive scheme that I'm put in. So
I like that confidence.
yeah. So whatever the team needs, like I'm able to perform and do it.
Have you thought about potentially teaming up with any number of your former teammates that are now in the NFL? Because the idea of that is fun, but have you given that much thought?
I honestly haven't because like shoot, there's 32 teams. There's what, like five players in different locations possibly.
Yeah,
maybe
there's a bunch.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Yeah,
there's like 5, 10, something like that.
Like what if the Jets grabbed you or the Panthers and you're running behind Brady or Zach's handing off to you or whatever?
That's true. No, it would be crazy.
It'd be fun.
No, it would be fun. Cool.
Fun, man.
That'd be cool.
Do you care? Obviously, there's like more money the higher up, right? But like, do you care what round you're in, or what team or what area of the country? Like, what do you value in this process of what team picks you?
Yeah, honestly, just getting that foot in the door, and then just putting my head down like I did here, and just getting to work. Really.
What are you mentally preparing for on draft day in terms of where you are expecting to get drafted, whether it's somewhere in the second or as late as the fifth? What are you preparing for?
Shoot, middle, third, or towards the middle, like third, fourth, latest fifth is what I've been hearing. So, but you never know. You can end up having like good conversations with one team and then they pick you early, or have thinking they'll pick you early then picking you late. So you really never know. You can see all these like media outlets saying you're gonna go here, but you really never know.
And sometimes a team that never even talked to you will pick you. That's the weird thing we've heard over the years. It's like, what? We didn't even chat.
Wasn't that way for Brady Christensen, kind of with the Panthers?
I can't remember. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Where they didn't
like, it's
chat
the Panthers, and his whole family was like, what?
He said, someone said Packers? He goes, no, Panthers. Yeah, but, dude, the opportunity to play in the NFL. At some point when you were little, was that the goal?
Yeah.
When you started playing when you were young?
No, yeah, shoot. Once, because I played when I was 7, took a break when I was 8, then like finally got back into it when I was 9, and then loved it ever since. Like I want to strive for this. First, it was actually obviously that's the goal, but first was getting to college, getting it paid for, and then now my next goal was the NFL. And now after that, once I make it to the NFL, then just strive for more.
Have you gone back and thought about how amazing last year was? The most rushing yards in a single season in BYU history. Like, that was unbelievable, man.
No, thank you. No, it was all up to the O-line, man. Yeah, they got me to where I was. So all my success goes to them.
You have to take them out.
Yeah, dinner's on Tyler, right, after draft day?
Oh, for sure. When I come back, best believe.
Yeah, when you get a bigger check, yeah. Exactly.
No, exactly.
How much attention are you giving to what's coming back next year for BYU football? Because, I mean, these are all your former teammates. Speaking of the offensive line, they look really good. What do you think of what BYU is capable of from what you've seen in the upcoming season?
Yeah, I believe they can do not only better, but even better this year, especially with their schedule. Their schedule's tough. Schedule's tough here. Is almost, I would say, close to matching this year, but maybe a little tougher. I don't know. I need to.
We've been debating as well.
Yeah. I don't know. But I think the offense has everyone back. Chris Brooks is a great add-on. We got a lot of depth in the running back room to see who wins that starting job. I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. You know, we have all the pieces on the offense. Now it's just putting it all together and just balling out and doing what they do.
You mentioned, like NFL Network or someone at the Combine compared you to James Conner. Do you have another comp or players that you like that you've patterned your game after in the NFL?
Depends, past or present.
Either or, yeah.
Either or, yeah. So I always watched Marshawn Lynch, Beast Mode right there.
Oh, I love it.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Now you're talking Jerem's language.
You ate Skittles before?
Oh, no. I can't be eating candy before. That's that's
During
crazy.
The game? Yeah.
No, exactly. And then currently is Nick Chubb for Cleveland Browns.
Nick Chubb. That's a great one as well.
No, yeah, he's a beast. Respect his game as well.
It wasn't too long ago that Jeremy and I were discussing the lack of skilled players from BYU in the NFL. That rhetoric has totally changed.
Yes, it's very exciting to have
Tyson Williams, Jamal Williams, Zach
Dax
Wilson, Dax Milne. Like, there are so many skill position players
Jamal,
in the NFL
of course,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about all of that? Joining the ranks of even specifically the running backs, of being a third running back from BYU in the league, along with Jamal Williams and Tyson Williams.
Damn, especially Tyson, especially playing with him as well. Yeah. He put his head down, especially coming off his injury, and he put his head down and got to work. I respect his game so much because Tyson's a dog, and then Jamal as well. Fontana native and all that.
That's right.
Keep in contact with those two guys as well. But it's just an honor. Shoot, a lot of hard work really pays off. And I think you just can't get comfortable. You just got to keep going.
Shout out to Sione Takitaki from Fontana as well. And we forgot tight end Taysom Hill.
Whatever position he
is. Yeah,
he's the Taysom Hill position.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just create the new position for him. Tyler, congratulations on everything. We know how busy you are and what a crazy schedule you have in the upcoming week. But we thank you for hanging out with us. We know BYU fans are excited to hear from you. So thanks for the time.
No, I appreciate you guys.
Okay, Tyler Algier in studio earlier this week. I'm so excited to see where he goes because he's going to be a real asset to whoever drafts him.
Look, we've seen, and one of the things that we saw at BYU was his durability. And to be as physical a back as he is, with the speed on top of it, to be able to be as durable, and when needed, he was always available. That's something that teams at the next level, that's exactly what they're looking for. And I like what he said. And we see this, whether it's the NBA draft, whether it's the NFL draft, it's all about fit. Certainly you want to go as high as you can because there's an ego factor involved and you want to get drafted as high as you can. But going to a great fit, that's what will give you the longevity if you go to a really good situation.
Absolutely. So we look forward to that. The NFL
so go
draft.
to Kansas City with the Chiefs.
Or Seattle. Let's go. Although we don't need a running back right now. We kind of need everything, but yeah. Okay, good stuff with Tyler.
All right, coming up, Collin Chandler is repping the Y, the USA, and the church, and he's going to join us in Studio B coming up.
And would we like a mock trade that's out there with Zach Wilson to the Cardinals?
Wait, is Spencer getting traded too?
Yeah. Would Spencer go with him? This is BYU Sports Nation.
With a Spencer to be named later.
Yes.
They prefer to be bringing the heat, getting set for success, demonstrating their drive. But when their blood and sweat turns to tears or anything else, we lay the groundwork for BYU's athletes to hit the ground running again, and you as well. Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU athletics.
When BYU made such a difference in our lives, I think really helped mold us as to who we are. And so when we had that opportunity and came back to Boise and found out there was an active chapter, we thought, okay, that's something that I can really get behind and get involved in.
We want to promote the BYU experience all over the region. We want people who leave BYU to still stay connected.
Those who leave the most meaningful legacy seem to be the ones who never intended to. The same person who loses himself seems to be the same that finds himself. And why? Well, they give the best of who they really are with no thought of return. Find a cause you can put your heart into, my son, in which to lose yourself. I started the Deseret Donor Advised Fund for this reason, because in the end, my greatest legacy is you.
Turn TV time into together time with the BYU TV app. Watch all your favorite shows when, where, and how you want.
This isn't like a practical joke, is it?
No, sir. Immerse yourself in stories with all the feels. Go on uninterrupted journeys of discovery and see families coming together while watching with your own. See new and original content, all for free on the BYU TV app.
BYU Sports Nation is brought to you by Maersk, enabling global trade for a growing world.
He is Jason. I'm Jerem. This is BYU Sports Nation. Interact with the show throughout the day. Get what we think is somewhere between mediocre to amazing content. Follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Let's whip it. Cougar Whip Around is presented by Maersk, your integrated container logistics company enabling global trade for a growing world.
Okay, ESPN's Bill Barnwell proposed an NFL trade that would include Zach Wilson to Arizona for Kyler Murray. There's some picks involved as well. Yeah. Would you be down with Zach Wilson going to the Arizona Cardinals?
I'd be, yes, even though he's in the same division as the Seahawks, but I'd get to see him twice a year, right?
Your Seahawks are toast, I'm sorry.
This year they are.
They traded away Russell Wilson.
Yes, this year they are. But we have Drew Lock. No, anywhere but the Jets would be great in my opinion. I'm still not a believer that the Jets are going to do anything that matters. I love Zach. I want him to overcome said Jets, but I would be totally down with this because I think Cliff Kingsbury and Arizona have a really talented offensive roster.
Yeah, and that's why it would first of all, it would be great to have him on a team that around him is significantly better. You're going to win immediately, but it'd also be cool to have him out west and closer to BYU.
There's a few BYU fans in the Valley there.
Just a couple.
The USA women's national soccer team will play at Rio Tinto in Salt Lake on June 28th. How many goals will Ashley Hatch score in this game?
You know what? I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to say 2.
Ooh.
Getting one is, we've already seen that.
They're going to play her a bunch.
Yeah, they're going to give her an opportunity to play as she well deserves.
She has played in one game for the U.S. at Rio Tinto before.
Yes.
It might have been 2, but it was sort of like a just in the 88th minute kind of deal.
That's not the case anymore.
She's like a starter on this team.
I'm going to say 2.
Yeah. Okay, let's go.
All right, BYU baseball scores 11 runs last night in the victory. Will they account for 11 more tonight or combined and combined with tomorrow's game as well?
Yes. They're going to put up some runs. If you can go against San Diego's ace and put up 11, you can certainly do it against 2 and 2.
Well, the thing about last night was BYU was down 2-0 and then just exploded and put San Diego in the rearview mirror very quickly. The bats are heating up. Getting 11 combined today and tomorrow, or if it's a doubleheader tomorrow, either way, that is not going to be a problem.
Ain't no thing. And the fact that BYU baseball won a game that wasn't decided by one was notable as well, Shep. Video surfaced yesterday of Mike Tyson punching a guy who was harassing him on an airplane. If you found yourself next to Iron Mike on a plane, how would you act, Shep?
Okay, here's what I know. I would not act like the guy that got punched in the face acted. I would not.
Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Here's the thing. I don't know what that guy was thinking, but normally when somebody punches somebody else, the person who threw the punch is the one that gets all the flack. That is not the case here. The guy that got punched is getting all the flack, and it feels like it's rightly deserved. I am sitting, hello, Mr. Tyson. It is great to see you. I'm a big fan. Thank you. And then I'm going to sit and watch my movies for the rest of the flight.
I then hand him anything in my possession and say, would you like more pretzels?
Yes.
Can I get you a drink?
Can I get you anything? Would you like me to tattoo the other side of your face? I'm happy to do this.
Do you need another tiger bite?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. All right, coming up, advice to graduates and us all from Dennis Pitta.
And big-time hoops signee Collin Chandler's in studio. What's up, Collin, to talk about his mission call, going to the Final Four and playing in the Nike Hoop Summit. This is BYU Sports Nation.
Hi, Spencer Linton here, letting you know when your company joins the BYU team as a corporate partner, your brand can be featured in sports programming on BYU TV and BYU Radio. In addition to all of the great games, you can be part of the BYU coaches shows, place your message in Countdown to Kickoff, basketball pre- and post-game shows, and each weekday on BYU Sports Nation. We invite your team to join ours and become a corporate sponsor of BYU Athletics. For details, email sponsorship@byu.edu today.
Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork sells Ford vehicles including the F-150, the pickup designed for work and play. Tim Daly Ford maintains a large inventory, providing more choices for selecting an F-150 with the power and engineering to carry and tow heavy loads. The F-150's design offers comfort, safety, and a range of options to choose from. Think Ford, think Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork.
BYU Food To Go's convenient location at 2191 North Canyon Road in Provo makes bringing popular BYU foods to your next event easy. Everything's ready when you need it at the drive and load pickup. You drive in and they load no matter the weather. And stop in the on-site creamery for great BYU chocolate milk and ice cream. BYU Food To Go, bringing campus to your table. Call for details, 801-422-5001.
Hello there.
Mary.
This young bear needs our help.
Hello.
It's just for one night. How would you like to come home with us?
Paddington is a danger to this family.
Paddington's the best thing that's ever happened to the children.
I hope I don't look weird after all that.
Where did you take the bear?
That bear is the reason I'm here.
Paddington's been kidnapped.
This family needed that bear every bit as much as he needed you.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
BYU baseball hosting San Diego tonight at Miller Park. You can listen to the game on the BYU radio app, 8 Eastern with Greg Wrubell.
Check it out tonight. Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation, live from Studio B. It's now our privilege to welcome, for the second time on the show, first time in studio ever, one of many visits we're going to have with Collin Chandler, the highest signee in BYU history according to ESPN rankings. Collin, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Just good to be here.
Great to have you, man. Busy times for you. Somehow you're navigating high school, but also you've been busy with a mission call, the Nike Hoops Summit. You went to the Final Four and competed. So what's life like right now?
It's an exciting time. It's slowing down, though, for sure. It's been a busy last month, but it's slowing down.
How do you balance all this stuff? Because, obviously, you have so much going on. You're getting ready to go into the MTC soon. You go in July? Like towards the end of July, right?
Yep.
So, how do you balance all this?
Just enjoying the time. Not going to be another time like this, quite like this. So I'm just enjoying it one step at a time.
Okay, tell us about your mission call, what it was like to open that, and remind the people where you're going.
So I got called to the Sierra Leone Freetown mission. So, yeah, I opened it, and embarrassingly, I didn't really know where it was. So I had to look it up.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just super excited. I've talked to a bunch of missionaries who were either there or gotten back. So, and they all loved it, and they're excited for me. So I'm just excited to go and experience it.
And it is an English-speaking country, is that correct?
Yeah, it says English on my mission call, but they call it Creole there, so it's like super broken, not the same English. So I'm still trying to pick up the little things.
Well, you said you've been watching some YouTube videos.
Yeah,
on
I've
it,
been
right?
watching YouTube tutorials on little different greetings. I'm still really lost.
Trust me, when you get in the mission field, you'll still be lost.
Yeah.
It'll take a sec, but you'll learn it. And you'll come home with a funny accent regardless. It'll be awesome. We're talking to Collin Chandler on BYU Sports Nation. So, mission call, you leave in July, you mentioned?
Yep.
Okay.
I start home MTC July 25th.
Awesome.
So.
And then get home before the season in 2 years. That's good timing. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what else have you been up to? Because we talked about you actually went to the Final Four and played in a tournament.
Yeah, I played in a little event there. It was just a game that we played, and then we just stayed in New Orleans with the whole environment. We stayed in the Villanova Hotel with them, so it was cool to have all those fans there. It was a cool environment.
In Jay Wright's last season.
Yeah, as it turns out.
Yeah.
So let's ask you this, since you were talking about going to the Final Four. The last two NCAA champions have come out of the Big 12, and obviously when you come back, BYU is going to be in the Big 12. How excited are you to play in this league?
I'm so excited. I mean, it's the best league in the country, so we're putting the pieces together, and I'm just excited to compete against those guys. It's not going to be one easy night out there. Every night's going to be a battle. So.
And in the current, obviously, there's a lot of news surrounding BYU basketball the last week or so. How close you pay attention to all this?
I mean, this is my new home, so I pay attention to it. But there's a lot of things happening. But I think there's a lot of things happening with every program in America. It's just how college basketball is going in the future. So it's happening everywhere. But knowing Mark Pope, we're gonna come back stronger.
You have a big smile when you mention Mark Pope.
Yep.
I think we all do, right? When we think about what Mark's doing with the program.
Yep. That's who we put our faith in. That's the guy. So he's gonna bring guys in. We're gonna be better.
What does excite you about the future of this program? Obviously, we talked about going into the new conference, but there's a lot of excitement about the program moving forward.
Yeah, well, I think with the Big 12 news, it's going to attract a different kind of basketball players, the people who want to play against the best players and people who are highly competitive. So that's what's exciting is we're going to get guys who want to play in the Big 12.
Let's talk about the Nike Hoops Summit. This was cool. I saw some videos on Instagram, and I was DMing you like, dude, tell me about this. So It was in Portland, right?
Yep.
And you're wearing the USA jersey. There's some dunk that goes viral that you threw down. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I went and I was on the scrimmage squad. So we went and scrimmaged the world team and then Team USA before they played each other. So this was just in a practice game, and I tried one earlier in the scrimmage. Didn't get it to go, but so I was looking for one, so I got the opportunity and just went at it.
That's amazing, dude.
Yep.
What's the reaction been to this video? Because I saw some SportsCenter account posted it.
Yep, SportsCenter Next. Yeah, so it's going around. I posted it on Twitter. It's getting a lot of views and replies. So that's cool to see.
Look, when you're getting invites to the Nike Hoop Summit, you're one of the elite basketball players in the country. What's it like to be involved in that and go up against that type of competition?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I played like the Team USA that we played. I played against most all of those guys, but it's not while they're all together. Like it's a good squad. It was fun to play against them. It was super high level talent, so it was a cool opportunity.
What do you learn from an experience like that?
You just learn what you're going to be up against in college. I mean, everyone's so big and long. The lanes close so fast. So it was cool. You had to adjust to that, but it was just fun.
What are the perceptions you fight as a guy who's in the top 30? But when people kind of see like your height, weight, and where you're from, they may think a certain thing about you. But then when you throw down on them, they may think a different thing, right?
Yeah. Once you do it the first couple times and your name kind of gets around, people sort of know. But yeah, like in the Adidas circuit this year, we didn't have the most like athletic team, maybe not the most talented, but people definitely came in sleeping on us. So that kind of gave us an advantage against a lot of these teams. We ended up making to the Final Four in Adidas. We had a good squad, played together. It was a fun time.
And how about you individually in terms of your game and what you hope to accomplish in your career?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you get to play against those guys at a high level, and that's the goal as a basketball player and a competitor. Is I want to come out every day and prove that I'm better than all the guys that are on the court.
We obviously talked about at the beginning of the interview everything that's happening over the next couple of months. What's the next couple of weeks, the next month look like for you as you kind of prepare for all of this?
Yeah, well, with the mission, and I think I'm playing in like one more event in Vegas, just still playing basketball. Yeah, but it's like once you have like an end, like a date of when you're going to leave for your mission, it kind of gets where you're like kind of getting antsy to go. So I'm just like counting down, waiting to start.
So I know there are some missionaries who are also athletes. Some kind of go out with the mindset, you know what? When I go out for my 2 years, I'm putting that 100% aside. There's some like I've got to find my time to either throw the football or go out and find a basketball court. Do you have any ideas on kind of how you're going to handle that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about like weight stuff. I know that people want you on your mission to like stay in shape and stuff. I don't know how much access I'm going to have.
It's hard.
Yeah, you got to get up early. You got to have a companion. So that I'll try to figure that out. I know one missionary that plays basketball there. He found a court and plays with some of the locals. So I'm hoping I can find a spot like that and maybe play with some of the locals. So
you mean go maybe get early up in the morning? You know, obviously you're supposed to read your scriptures in the morning, so you get up early, maybe put the AirPods in with the scriptures in the audio version, hooping while you're listening. I mean, you can multitask here, Collin.
That's ideal.
Yeah. And maybe use it as a tool to hang out with people and relate to people.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Right?
I think there's a lot of ways to connect with the people there too. So through basketball.
And maybe you find the next Gideon George in the Tiki Alley of Tiki.
Yep.
Like Ziggy Ansah. Are you familiar with Ziggy? He played football at BYU, 5th pick in the draft in 2012. He was baptized in Ghana, came to BYU, walked onto the football team, 5th pick in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
Maybe in Sierra Leone you find the next
who knows?
Great BYU player. Who knows? We're talking to Collin Chandler on BYU Sports Nation. Dude, are you 18? Is that how old you are?
I did. I turned 18 in February.
Congratulations. Happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
You seem super mature for an 18-year-old. Like, where does this come from? Is it your parents? Like, where is it from?
I don't know. I don't really know where that comes from. But yeah, I like interview questions. I feel like I've been kind of interviewed for the last year and a half, so I've got a little bit of practice with answering questions. But yeah.
Do you enjoy this part of it? Because obviously, being in the position you are, you're going to have a lot of people like us asking for interviews, and the spotlight's going to be on you. How comfortable are you with that?
Yeah, no, it's just fun. It's a cool opportunity to have that opportunity to have people want to ask you questions, want to learn more about you. So just staying humble about it. It's a cool time.
Are you an active recruiter for BYU as well right now? It feels like you're this promoter of the program.
Yeah. I'm working on it, but especially when I get back, I'll go more into it because it's hard to recruit people and be like, hey, come to BYU, but I'm not going to be there for the first 2 years.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
When I get back, I'll hit it hard.
And like you talked about the guys, in your grade, it's like some of those dudes will actually be in the NBA.
Yeah. That's,
when you get back,
that's
right?
what's crazy about it. Like, sometimes maybe I won't have the opportunity to play against this dude because they won't be in college still. But yep.
So right now you ID the sophomores turning juniors. Like, I'll see you in 2.
Exactly.
That's what's happening.
So now I don't know if we're going to have a chance to be able to talk to you before you go into the MTC. So have you? Because for all of us that have gone on missions, you kind of think, all right, what's the last place I'm going to go eat before I go into the MTC? Do you have that planned out? Like what's going to be? I don't want to call it the last meal because that sounds horrible. But you know what I mean.
Go ahead and call it the last supper. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
But I mean, if you figured out this is the last place I want to go before I go into the MTC.
It'll probably be Chick-fil-A.
Nice.
I'm getting all my Chick-fil-A runs in before because I know I'm going to miss it.
Colin's trying to get an NIL deal in high school right now.
Pickles on? Do you keep the pickles on, or is it no pickles?
Pickles off.
Oh, pickles off.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I went to Taco Bell the first meal after. I was like, I haven't had Taco Bell in 2 years.
What was your before? Right. Mine was Sizzler.
I don't.
Went to the Sizzler before.
Sizzler.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm just checking to see if we have a deal with them or not. Nice. That's awesome. Collin, we appreciate the time. During the break, we'll have you sign the flag if that's all right.
Awesome.
Okay. Yep. Thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah. Thanks
Good
for
luck
having me.
in West Africa. That'll be awesome.
Thank you.
Coming up, what is our elite voice of the day? We'll get it to you.
And we make time for Dennis. In our Rise and Shout Out. Now that he's graduated, we can. This is BYU Sports Nation.
I know what it's like to be overlooked, to be doubted, to fly under the radar. I only had one offer coming out of high school, but I was ready for every moment, every opportunity, and every shot that I got. Now I'm playing professional basketball, aiming to be one of the best shooters on the planet. And I'm just getting started. Be ready for your moment with Rapid Reboot, the future of rapid recovery.
Family, if you're looking for something new to watch, stop scrolling and start streaming. BYU TV has a ton of great options to binge together. From bold adventure to family drama and even a little fun, there's something for everyone. Binge entire series, experience all the feels, immerse in nonstop intrigue, and treat yourself to unexpected turns. Think you know BYU TV? We're just getting started.
As we've spent time working with so many groups around the world, we've learned a lot.
I have really learned the importance of gratitude.
African electrical systems.
Well, I've learned that Kieran actually loves concrete.
The power of cooperation.
But above all,
we've learned the world is a family.
And fixing someone else's problems
ends up fixing my own.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
BYU Sports Nation, always available on demand via the free BYU TV and BYU radio app.
You brought up a fantastic point. Because Collin is in the studio, normally we move over.
Yeah.
And we'd gone through the entire break, and I was still sitting so close.
You were sitting like right here.
Jerem's like, you going to stay sitting there? You going to sit this close?
Get away.
So luckily we were not on camera as I moved everything down.
I was hoping you have a little bell and just say unclean. You can download the pod as well.
Yes, yeah. Just Google BYU Sports Nation podcast.
Just bing it.
Don't forget, subscribe, rate, and review. As long as you don't sit too close to Jerem, apparently.
Yeah, well, it's mainly the smell. Our question of the day: how does Gideon George returning change the narrative for BYU basketball? We've got Elliot Brown on Twitter. I'd rather have Gideon back than a grad or one-year transfer at the same position, especially if he plays like he did at the end of the season. He was playing really well.
Yeah.
He knows the system will help incoming transfers and RMs to acclimate. I also like who Gideon is. Like, obviously, personalities matter to us in the sort of journey of the season. Winning is what matters the most. But I would like the people to be enjoyable, and Gideon's an enjoyable dude.
Well, and let's not forget, having people like Gideon George representing BYU is extremely positive.
Yes.
Because this is a guy that is completely selfless as you can possibly get. He talks about his charities, and we know the donations with the shoes.
Yep.
That is what Gideon is about, and to have somebody like that in the forefront
100%.
representing the basketball program is great.
More black athletes, more athletes of other faiths. I love it. Today's Rise and Shout Out, our elite voice of the day, is presented by Sundance Mountain Resort. R.C. Steinman on Twitter. Whose narrative didn't change mine in Pope I Trust? Well, certainly there's a thought there that, hey, the program is crumbling. It's like, it's not crumbling. A couple guys are leaving. Certainly the loner one was big news. Gavin was a surprise. Chris was a surprise. But you want your assistants to be valued. Today's Rise and Shout-Outs presented by Mountain America, official credit union, BYU Athletics, to the BYU graduating athletes. And you know what? They were given a speech by one Dennis Pitta, and here's a soundbite yesterday.
If I can instill anything in you young athletes who are going out into the world and starting the next chapter of your life, it's first that there's no substitute for hard work. You can accomplish a lot of things by simply working hard.
I think you learned that from Joe Flacco. That wasn't something that Dennis actually did. But
the show's not even over, and the goodwill has worn off already.
Yeah. Well, that was almost an hour ago.
You still have the signed photo over there.
Do I? Do you want it?
Oh boy,
we're good.
It's back.
And along those lines, we do want to give a special rise and shout out to a BYU athlete who worked very hard. A lot of people know this athlete professionally and accomplished this from Arizona. It's Ashley Hatch, who also graduated. Congratulations. Thanks to today's guests, Tyler Algier and Collin Chandler.
Conversation continues 24/7 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always use hashtag BYUSN.
For Jason, I'm Jerem. Shout out to Michael Reed. See you tonight for BYU Baseball on BYU TV and the BYU Radio app, 8 Eastern Time, Game 2. Go Cougs! And congrats to Ashley.